Several theories were developed to determine the exchange rate. The prominent one among them is purchasing per parity theory. It is shortly called the PPP theory. The expansion is the purchasing per parity theory. It was developed and elaborated by Gustav Cassel. It has two versions as well. One is absolute version of purchasing per parity theory. Second one is a relative version of purchasing power parity theory. This is to estimate the equilibrium rate of exchange between two currencies. Depends on the price level and change in price level in two nations. Unlike the way in which exchange rate is determined as per the mint parity theory, here the price level is used to find the equilibrium rate of exchange between two currencies. Under the mint parity theory, the currency's value were pegged to the gold, and the variation in exchange rate is driven by the change in value of gold. Here it is price level, and change in price level which will be driving the exchange rate of two nations. So, what does the purchasing per parity theory say? As per the purchasing per parity theory, the two currencies would be in equilibrium, the currencies being at par. It doesn't mean that the two nations' currencies are measured in equal units or equal absolute unit. It is not at all right. But what purchasing per parity theory says is the two currencies would be in equilibrium depends on the price level in two nations. That means when we consider the India's exchange rate in terms of the US dollar, as per the purchasing per parity theory, the India's price level would be equal to that of the United States. It doesn't mean that when a mobile phone is priced 9,000 rupees in India, the same mobile phone is priced $9,000 in India. This is not the case. When 9,000 rupees is the price of a mobile phone in India, the same brand, same commodity would be priced with equal value of 9,000 rupees, but it will be represented in their own currency. So to speak, the price of mobile phone in both nations would be same as per the purchasing per parity theory. So let's look how does the exchange rate between two currencies is determined. When we consider the exchange rate of India in terms of Chinese yuan, let's look an example first. If 100 kg of rice is priced at 3,000 rupees in India, the same 100 kg rice in China is priced at 300 Chinese yuan. Then India's exchange rate can be calculated by 3,000 by 300. 3,000 or 3,000 rupees is the price of 100 kg rice in India. The same rice with same quantity is priced 300 Chinese yuan in China. Then India's exchange rate is equal to 1 Chinese yuan is equal to 3,000 by 300, that is 10. That means 1 Chinese yuan is equal to 10 Indian rupee. This is the value of Chinese yuan in terms of Indian rupee, or this is India's exchange rate in terms of Chinese yuan. This is calculated. This is the way in which the exchange rate is estimated as per the absolute version of purchasing per parity theory. And here it is, this is the equation for finding the equilibrium rate of exchange as per the absolute version of purchasing per parity theory. Then R is equal to P by P star. R refers to the exchange rate, R refers to the equilibrium rate of exchange between two currencies, P stands for the domestic price level, and P star stands for the foreign general price level or general price level in the foreign nation. Then P can be P divided by P star is the would be the exchange rate between two nations. So for example, when we try to estimate the India's exchange rate in terms of the US dollar. So if the price of a smartphone is 9,000 rupees in India, the same smartphone with same brand and specification is priced at $135 in the United States. Then the exchange rate is 9,000 by 135. This is 66.67. That means 1 US dollar is equal to 66.67 Indian rupee. So this is the case of one commodity trade. This is for the easy understanding and simple comprehending of the concept of purchasing power parity theory absolute version. Now, more realistically, when we have the data on general price level in both nations for calculating the exchange rate between India and the United States. So, if general price level in India is 5,000, it is 110 in the United States, then India's exchange rate in terms of US dollar is equal to 5,000 by 110. 5,000 is India's general price level, that is P by P star is 110, then it is 45.45. That means 1 US dollar is equal to 45.45 depends on the price level of 5,000 in India, 110 in the United States. So what we can see here is law of one price. That means the price of one commodity would be same in both nations as per the purchasing power parity theory. For example, take again the case of the mobile phone, which is priced 9,000 rupees in India and $135 in the United States. This is the same price. So the law of one price doesn't mean that 9,000 rupees price for a mobile phone, smartphone in India, it would be equal to $9,000 in the United States. This is not the case. 9,000 rupees mobile phone in India is equal to $135 for the same mobile phone in the United States at the rate of 66.67 rupees per $1. This is the law of one price. If there is no law of one price, if there is no equal price existing, then the arbitrage will surely happen. Finally, arbitrage process is the buying of commodities from the low priced market and selling at the high priced market. This process will balance finally the prices in both markets, and finally the price levels would be same in both nations. So this is the way in which exchange rate is determined between two nations as per the absolute version of purchasing power parity theory. So let's look a couple of drawbacks, major drawbacks for the purchasing power parity theory. One is the purchasing power parity theory completely ignored the capital flows. It only includes the trade in goods and services, and it doesn't include capital flows, investment, foreign investment. And in fact, foreign investment has been playing a major role in influencing the exchange rate. Demand and supply of exchange rate would be affected by the capital flows, but this is not considered by the purchasing power parity theory. Moreover, there are some commodities which are non-traded or less traded goods and services. For example, the bulk commodities like cement and bricks, its weight to value is too low, and these are less traded commodities and even non-traded commodities in some cases. So the purchasing power parity theory can represent only traded goods and services. So the exchange rate determined as per the purchasing power parity theory would not be a comprehensive one. Finally, the purchasing power parity theory did not consider transport cost and other trade barriers. There are so many trade barriers as we see today in the current day trade, which has not been considered by the purchasing power parity theory. So although there are so many drawbacks for the purchasing power parity theory, purchasing power parity theory sets an equilibrium rate of exchange between two currencies considering the price level in both nations.